On this episode of Laid Back History, we're talking about 19th century traditions, superstitions, and adages. So I'd like to welcome you back to another episode of Laid Back History. This episode, we're going to be talking about traditions and superstitions and adages in the 19th century. I think, everybody growing up, there's different sayings or different superstitions that they've heard, and we all kind of have our own. And so I was just thinking about some of the things that I remember being told growing up, or had heard and thought, let's do a laid back history about it. So that's what we're going to talk about. Now, before we get started, I do want to thank the Washington County Tourism Promotion Agency once again for the wonderful shirts. I do need to get shirts from them. Speaking of shirts, I finally picked up the Laid Back History shirts. We finally got them. So I know I still have the list of those that have to get the shirts. I will be shipping them out this coming week. So just finally took the time to actually go pick those up. So those are coming. But again, so back to what I was saying. Thank you to the Washington County Tourism Promotion Agency for their support. They've been great supporters of Laid Back History, recorded with them. The Laid Back History student editions, which were a lot of fun for schools to be able to use. So, they've always been just great partners with us, and, partnering with us for our new project across the road, the Research and Education Center, which is coming along great. Thank you to everybody that has reached out with questions about it. I love the fact that people are driving by and they're seeing something going on and they're calling or emailing or stopping in to see what that is. I love it, that people are interested in it. So thank you everybody for that, and thanks for everybody for watching. Everybody's just been so incredible, watching. My one request that I have for you, if you're watching today, please like this, subscribe if you're watching on YouTube, and share it. Definitely share this. Facebook has kind of messed around with some of their algorithms a little bit, and so since we've been doing really well, they've changed things a little bit, and so what they want us to do is to buy, they want us to pay to boost this rather than have it be done organically. And so the more people that share it, the better, because it gets out there more and we don't have to pay Facebook to get more views. So please subscribe, subscribe and share. I'd appreciate it. So before we get started with our traditions, we're going to have to talk about the phases of the moon, because a lot of what we're talking about today goes by the phases of the moon. I mean, going all the way back through ancient history, the phases of the moons are being used. There's something around religion and superstition that people really look at the moon and they look at the sun. And so the phases of the moon are important, whether you want to call it the waning moon, the waxing moon, the light of the moon, the dark of the moon, whatever you want to call it, those are the phases. And so we're going to talk about that real quick. So I want to pop up an image right now. Perfect, because I want to kind of talk about the phases just real quick. So you're looking at the image here, and I'm just going to read something out of the Farmer's Almanac that talks about the phases of the moon, and the chart will kind of help describe it. So the dark of the moon refers to the period in the 29.53 day lunar cycle when the moon is decreasing, getting darker, or waning. The dark of the moon is the period before the new moon, or from full moon to the new moon, which lasts about 14 plus days. So you can do your dark of the moon tasks during day or night in this time period. Now, the light of the moon refers to the period in the lunar cycle and when the moon is increasing or getting lighter, i.e. waxing. The light of the moon is after the new moon or between the new moon and the full moon, a period which also lasts approximately 14 days. You can do your light of the moon tasks during the day or nighttime in this period. and that is directly from the Farmer's Almanac. So the reason I bring that up is because we're going to be talking a little more about that. So let's start with something. Just what made me think about this was the saying. It was around the 4th of July that I was thinking about this, and I was looking at the corn, and I was thinking about knee high by the 4th of July. And that was always growing up. I grew up on a farm. We had beef cattle. We had a garden. And then, my grandfather, the same thing, grew up on those two farms. And, I was always told by my dad, my grandfathers, that corn needed to be knee high by the 4th of July. Now, the thing they never did tell me is whose knee that needs to be. My knee was a lot shorter than my dad's knee, so I'm not real sure whose knee it was, but knee high by the 4th of July. And that basically, gives you your planting period, that the corn is growing well. If you plant it at the right time and it's growing well, by the 4th, your corn's going to be, yay high. You're looking at probably, I don't know, 1.5 feet high, somewhere in there for knee high. And I was just thinking about that, and it started making me think of other things. This is actually a tradition when I looked it up, something that I looked up and found, but it's something my dad used to always tell me. It's something that we always used to do. When we would put in fence posts, when we were putting in fence, you always wanted to put the fence post in the ground during the dark of the moon, because the fence post would stay set if you put it in during the dark of the moon. If you put it in during the light of the moon, the fence post would not stay set. It would actually pop out slightly. And I know that seems crazy, and I thought it was too. And so to prove to me that it wasn't so crazy, my dad did something. He took a 2x4, I don't know how long it was, probably about 3 feet long, and he put it on the ground. And he put one on the ground during the dark of the moon, and then did the same thing with another 2x4 during the light of the moon. And I'm not making this up. During the dark of the moon, that 2x4, when it bowed with the ends going down. So the bow was actually up, but it bowed down, which means the ends were going into the ground. The one from the light of the moon, the ends came up. So they were lifting up off the ground. So I believe it. Just seeing that made me think, what? Maybe my dad knows what he's talking about. So you want to put your fence posts in during the dark of the moon, so that they will stay set in the ground and not pop up. And so, these things, like, as I was growing up, kind of got me thinking about more of them, and I started looking into it. And you have some traditions, that you'll see. It's weird that I found a lot of the German and Irish traditions, when it came to planting, are very similar. So, so grains. It was believed that grains should be planted during the waxing of the moon, so during the light of the moon. So you want to plant them in between the new moon and the full moon phase. And the reason they say that is that you plant them, and then the light is growing, so the moon is going towards a full moon, which means it's getting brighter at night, each night. And so it's said that brighter light helps the grains to germinate and grow better initially. But then you have, as the moon goes into its crescent phase, you have different traditions there. So the Germans believe that when it went into its crescent phase, you should plant your onions. But when the crescent is facing down, so when the horns are facing down, you want to plant onions. But you want to plant beans and potatoes when the horns are facing up. So again, we're going with the phases of the moon. It was also believed by the I think it was the Germans, that you should plant your flax on Good Friday. And Good Friday is always determined by the equinox. And so again, based on the moon. So you kind of see it's a constant thing. especially with the German and the Irish, that they're looking at the phases of the moon when it comes to their planting, when it comes to, whatever it may be, like I said. So onions, crescent down, beans and potatoes, crescent up, grains during the between the new moon and the full moon during the waxing. But it wasn't just agriculture that you're going to find them using the phases of the moon for. It was so weddings. Germans believe that wedding dates should be determined by the moon. They felt that a wedding during a full moon was meant good luck and prosperity in a long marriage. If you would get married during the waning moon, especially towards the end of that, to where you're getting the new moon, that it meant bad luck, and that marriage would not be successful. So they would plan out their weddings based on the phases of the moon. The Irish believed that the moon that your child is born under would affect its temperament. And I'm trying to make sure that I get this right. If it was during the waxing of the moon, when so the moon is from new moon to full moon, you would end up, they would be happier, but they would be higher strung and have more energy. So it was told that a child born under the new moon to full moon, under the waxing moon, was a lot harder to get along with in childhood because they just had so much energy. But a child born from the full moon down to the new moon in that period, so the waning moon, where the illumination is getting, where it's decreasing, that it was at that point that a child would be more calm and relaxed and have a better temperament, and that they didn't have as bad of a temper, where those that born under the waxing moon had a much more of a temper. And that it would determine the jobs that you should do. That under a waxing moon, that you were better for physical labor, and under a waning moon, you were better suited for intellectual endeavors. Maybe we should put it that way. So they were even looking at the temperament of the children by that. Well, Irish also thought that it was good luck to cut your hair. What was it? The Friday following a good moon. The Irish felt that it was good luck to cut your hair at that point. So, Brian, who's here on the show, he's got that long ponytail. Maybe we need to cut that on the Friday following the good moon. I don't know, Brian. What do you think? So you have other superstitions that I was looking into, and I thought were interesting, and some that I had heard of before. But the one that I thought was interesting, and if you get the emails, it was on there about why you shouldn't carry a hoe into your house. So the Germans felt that it was bad luck to carry a hoe into your home, and that if it would bring bad luck into your house. And if you were to accidentally carry a hoe into the house, what you had to do was walk backwards in your exact steps out the door, close the door, and then turn and walk away from the home, preferably to a barn, because the bad spirits or the bad luck would follow you out to the barn, and you could leave them there then. But they were just waiting to go in with you into your home if you were carrying a hoe. Just thought of a very inappropriate joke that I'm not very inappropriate statement. We're going to let that one go, though. The Irish, to ward off evil spirits in their home, they would put evergreen. They would take a branch of an evergreen, just one. You didn't want to hang multiple, just one branch of an evergreen, and put that in the rafters of your home. And if you did that, that aroma was something that evil spirits didn't like, and it would ward them off. And you know what? Probably warded off some other horrible smells because people didn't bathe all that often. So it was probably good to have it there for that reason as well. Witch hazel. Oh, witch hazel. That was another one. Irish would also put witch hazel in their water because, again, they felt that warded off evil spirits. And the one that I saw, I had not heard of this before. This was a really interesting one. And it has to do with candles. So candles are of major importance to settlers during the 18th and 19th century. We don't have electric lights. Most of the time people got up with the sunlight, they went to bed with the sunlight. You're not going to waste your time, candles burning. And most of the candles, even though there were beeswax candles, those are going to be for wealthier people, because those were expensive to get. Most people just had tallow candles, so animal fat. So over the course of the year, you would save your tallow, your fat, you would render that down, and then you could make candles a couple different ways. If you had a candle mold, you could actually pour them into the mold. So maybe pop up a picture here. So if you candle mold, you can put pour the fat into the candles, into the molds, and then just let it dry. But what most people did is they would take the wick and they would just dip it into the fat. You dip it in, take it out, and let it cool slightly, then dip it again, pull it out, let it cool slightly, and it slowly builds up until you have your candles. And then they had these big racks that they would tie them to dry them. That's fat. And animals liked it. You actually had candle safes to keep mice and stuff out of it. But there was a tradition that I found, or a superstition that I found with the actual dipping process, that when they would dip them, they would want to keep dogs away. For a couple reasons. One, if a candle were to break while you were dipping it or drying it, that meant bad luck for the family. That was a bad omen for the entire family, for the household. But what was even worse is if you had candles drying and a dog would be walking underneath them, and wax would drip on the back of the dog, or tallow or fat, whatever it is, then that meant that candle would burn over a dead body within a year, which means there would be a death in your family, and that candle would be burning over top of them within a year. And so that was one I'd never heard before. When I worked at Metacroft, we used to do candle dipping all the time and we told stories about it, but that was not one that I had ever heard of. So if you're dipping candles, there's a lot. I know there's people in the area that make candles. Rich Baker, who's on the show with me a lot, his daughter Jess has a candle making business. So Jess, if you're watching, don't let the wax dip or drip on your dog's back. Just don't let it happen. So you have these traditions, and it's just kind of interesting to see, where they come from and what they are. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to see what there was. I found there's a wonderful book that's a little pamphlet, and if you're watching, I think you have it, which is like Traditions and Superstitions of the National Road. And it was just about, how you should travel on the road, and that there's only certain times that you should travel. And after certain times, it was bad luck, and that, the way you should pass somebody, that if you didn't wave, that it would be bad luck on you. And so there's a lot of these really neat traditions and these old adages, which I forgot one. I need to tell you about the one adage, and I want to make sure that I get it right. So I'm gonna read it here just to make sure I don't mess it up. I want to make sure that I get it fully right. So it is, and this is the one from the email that I said you needed to listen in. When the oak is before the ash, then you will only get a splash. When the ash is before the oak, then you may expect a soak. Now, I thought that was an interesting one. I found that and I thought, well, what the heck is that? I had not heard that before. And basically, it comes down to weather patterns. So both oak and ash come to leaf around the same time between late March and May. But it says that the precise timing of an oak's tree's leafing is mainly determined by temperature, while ash trees are more heavily influenced by the number of hours of daylight. If spring arrives early and with high temperatures in February and March, oak trees are likely to leaf first. If it's cold conditions and it's rainier into April, ash is likely to have the advantage. So what it means is that when oak before ash, then you will only get a splash, which means it's going to be a dry spring. But when ash before the oak, then you may come to expect a soak. So if you have oak trees that bloom first, dry spring. If you have ash that come first, it's going to be a wet spring. So there's the answer to the email if you wanted to know what the answer was to that. So here's what I'd like, for everybody watching, leave a comment. I want to know your traditions, your superstitions, your adages, something that you remember being told growing up, or, that you've heard before, maybe your grandfather told you, your grandmother, whatever it may be, your mother, your father, whatever it is. I want to hear your superstitions that you had growing up. Don't step on a crack or you break your mother's back, stuff like that. We all remember that when you're walking down the sidewalk, not step on the crack. But I want to hear yours. I have other ones that, like little ones like that I remember. But I want to hear what you have. So leave a comment. Leave multiple comments. I want a good discussion going on on this video down in the comments section. So whether it's on YouTube or whether you're watching on Facebook, leave me a comment. Tell me what your traditions, superstitions, or adages are. So I think that's it. All right. Well, I want to thank everybody for watching. I want to thank everybody for their donations, their kind donations. I am always so thankful when I get an email that comes through and says somebody has left a donation or made a donation. That means a lot. If it's $5, $10, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. What it means to me is that you guys appreciate what you're doing and you want to support it. And I thank you for that. I really do. Over the last year and a half or year and a few months now, I have had the pleasure and the honor of coming to you guys and doing these videos. They're fun for me. I love doing them. But what I didn't expect is for you guys to enjoy them so much, and to have so many people watching and leaving comments and emailing me and texting me and I was just up at the Flight Fest up at the Washington County Airport this past weekend, and had people coming up and going, "Clay, we watch you on Laid Back History," and it was, oh my God, it made me beam. Like, I got this huge smile on my face every time, because it just means you guys like what we're doing and you're watching, and we try to have fun with it and make things fun but also interesting. So I want to thank you guys for that support, and it has been an honor getting to know you. There are so many people that are watching that I didn't know before, and I still maybe have never met in person, but I feel like we've become friends just through messages and comments, on each one of the videos. So I have gained a lot of new friends because of this, and that means a lot to me. So I just want to thank you for that. Okay, enough of the sappy stuff. One last comment that I have to make. I want to say happy birthday to one of our viewers. Rachel Angry is going to be celebrating her birthday, I believe, this coming Sunday. If I'm wrong about that, Rachel, I'm sorry. But I believe it's this coming Sunday. So I want to say happy birthday to Rachel. Let's see, we're probably about 30 minutes into this. So I'm guessing she's just tuning in now. Just giving you a hard time. But at any rate, happy birthday. And if there's any other birthdays out there, happy birthday to you as well. I'm going to go ahead and stop talking now. So I hope you all have a wonderful evening, and I will see you next week for another episode of Laid Back History.